The moment I received the results of the DNA test, my world shattered into a million irretrievable pieces. I had spent sleepless nights wrestling with my doubts, my paranoia spiraling out of control. But nothing could have prepared me for the gut-wrenching truth that Alex was not my biological son. I sat in my car, the paper crumpled in my trembling hands, staring blankly at the road ahead. The revelation felt like a punch to the gut, knocking the breath out of me. How could this be? I had loved Alex as my own, poured my heart into being a father, and now I felt like a stranger in my own life. Questions swirled in my mind. How long had Julia known? Had she ever intended to tell me? In that moment of despair, a dark determination began to take root within me. I had to confront Julia. I couldn't let this betrayal go unpunished. I envisioned the look on her face when I revealed the truth, the shock and horror that would wash over her as she realized the depths of her deception. I was no longer just a heartbroken husband. I was a man scorned, ready to reclaim my power. I drove home, my mind racing with thoughts of how to confront her, how to make her feel the pain she had inflicted on me. I imagined the conversations I would have with our family and friends, the way I would expose her lies to everyone who had ever supported us. The thought ignited a fire within me, a sense of purpose that pushed me forward. As I walked through the door, I felt a surge of adrenaline. I could hear her in the kitchen, humming softly as she prepared dinner. The normalcy of the scene was jarring, a stark contrast to the turmoil raging inside me. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the confrontation that was about to unfold. This was my moment to reclaim my dignity, to ensure that she understood the full extent of her betrayal. I would not be the victim any longer. I would be the one to expose the truth. When I finally confronted Julia, the air crackled with tension. I stood in the doorway of the kitchen, my heart pounding in my chest. "We need to talk," I said, my voice low but firm. She looked up, her smile fading as she sensed the gravity of the moment. "What's wrong, Kenneth?" she asked, her voice laced with concern. I held up the DNA test results, my hands shaking with a mix of rage and hurt. "This is what's wrong. Alex is not my son." The silence that followed was deafening. I could see the color drain from her face as the reality of my words sank in. "What are you talking about?" she stammered, but I cut her off, my anger boiling over. "Don't play dumb with me, Julia. You know exactly what I'm talking about. How could you betray me like this? How could you lie to me for all these years?" Her pleas for forgiveness fell on deaf ears as I unleashed my fury. I wanted her to feel the weight of her actions, to understand how deeply she had hurt me. "You've taken everything from me," I shouted, my voice rising. "I trusted you. I loved you, and you repaid that trust with betrayal. I will make sure everyone knows the truth about you." I could see the panic in her eyes, the realization that her carefully constructed life was crumbling around her. In that moment, I felt a twisted sense of power. I was no longer the victim. I was the one holding the cards. I reveled in the thought of exposing her infidelity to our family and friends, ensuring that she would feel the humiliation and shame of her actions. I wanted her to understand the pain I had endured, the love I had given so freely, only to be repaid with lies. This was my chance to reclaim my narrative, to ensure that she would never forget the depth of her betrayal. As the confrontation escalated, I could see Julia's composure crumbling. She began to plead, her voice breaking as she begged for forgiveness. "Kenneth, please, I was going to tell you. I didn't mean for it to happen." But her words fell flat, drowned out by the storm of emotions raging within me. I had no sympathy left. All I felt was the burning desire for revenge. "You think I can just forget this? You think I can forgive you?" I spat, the bitterness in my voice palpable. I watched as tears streamed down her face, but they did nothing to soften my heart. I had loved her deeply, and now I felt nothing but contempt. I wanted her to feel the same pain I had endured, to understand the consequences of her actions. I imagined the looks of shock on our friends' faces when I revealed the truth, the whispers that would follow her wherever she went. I envisioned the shame that would envelop her, the way she would be forced to confront the reality of her betrayal. In the days that followed, I began to put my plan into action. I reached out to our closest friends, carefully crafting my narrative to ensure that Julia could not spin her version of events. I wanted them to hear my side first, to understand the depth of her betrayal before she had a chance to manipulate the situation. Each conversation felt like a cathartic release, a way to share the burden of my pain. I felt empowered as I recounted the events leading up to the revelation, the signs I had ignored, and the love that had been twisted into something unrecognizable. But as the days turned into weeks, I began to realize that my quest for revenge came at a cost. Each conversation left me feeling more hollow, more consumed by anger. I had set out to expose Julia, to make her feel the weight of her actions, but in doing so, I had also begun to lose myself. The bitterness I clung to was like a poison, tainting every aspect of my life. I had thought that revenge would bring me peace, but instead, it only deepened my sense of loss. I was left grappling with the reality that my desire for retribution had transformed me into someone I barely recognized, a man defined by anger rather than love.